I'm back in the studio. It's me, your boy, Mac, from Mac Music Review, here to talk about that Lil Nas X album that came out earlier in the year. In case you don't know, it was nominated for Album of the Year at the Grammys. I'm doing a thing where I look at all of the albums reviewed. I'm reviewing all of the albums nominated for Album of the Year for this upcoming Grammys. And I have to listen to that Justin Bieber album, man. I'm not looking forward to it. But fortunately, Montero, the debut album by Lil Nas X, isn't bad. In fact, many think it's quite good. Some people even think it's one of the best albums of the year. I'm not as hyped about it, but let's hop into it in this review. The track list for this album can look a little bit daunting just looking at it. You know, all the songs are in all caps, and it says 15 tracks, and you're like, dang, 15 tracks? What is this going to be, like an hour-long album? No, actually, the album is only 41 minutes long, and one of those tracks is actually an interlude. The Art of Realization is like one of those, message box messages that they like, the audio isn't great, which they kind of turn into like an interlude skit. I don't know if that's exactly what they did for this one, because I don't really care. It's just kind of a filler interlude, in my opinion. It's not that important. But a lot of the songs on this thing are like 2 minutes long. The only song on this thing, I believe the only song on this album that hits the 4-minute mark. Oh, there may be two. I know Void is the longest song on the album. And then the last song, which is Am I Dreaming, might also hit the 4-minute mark. But generally speaking, these songs are short and mostly pretty sweet. A couple songs in this album are really just not doing it for me. The first one on the track list that really just doesn't work super well, in my opinion, is That's What I Want. I think the lyrics on this one are a little bit awkward, as well as the music, and I think the hook is slightly annoying. There is interesting and unique and very good production throughout the entire project, and so even the low points on this album usually sound pretty good. Another example of this is Scoop, the song with Doja Cat, which I think has an interesting little beat, but and that's a good thing. This is the production. It sounds kind of interesting and fun, but other than that, the song is pretty much a waste of space. It doesn't do much for me in any way. And then there's the song $sign Slime, which I think really is pretty weak instrumentally, musically, lyrically. The Megan feature does literally nothing for me. I mean, this is the worst song on the album, is $sign Slime. And then I'm also not a big fan of the song Montero. I know this is kind of a hot take because people really like the song Montero, but personally, it's just not doing a lot for me. I think it is a unique song. The instrumentation is interesting, like pretty much for the entire album outside of $sign Slime. I like the instrumentation. I like some of the vocals, but it's lyrically and just overall as a song, it's not doing much for me. And then the album has some really outstanding, great highlights. I'm talking about songs like Dead Right Now, the second song in the album. Absolutely incredible. I think this is the best Lil Nas X song. I love the choir vocals that kick in for like 4 seconds or whatever. I talk about it on my best songs of 2021 video. I'll link that in the description if you want to see that, if you're interested. Industry Baby, plain and simple, is just a bop. It's such a fun song. The Jack Harlow feature's good. The horns, bro. I love those horns. It's just a really fun song. And then One of Me with Elton John. I really like how interesting and unique the song is. I've said that, the production on this whole thing is pretty colorful, just like the album cover. I think it's a good cover. It's a little bit weird, you might think, but I think the cover actually kind of encapsulates the sound of the album very well, and the personal nature of the album, as Lil Nas X is right there naked on the center of the album cover. He's kind of exposing himself on a lot of these songs and being very personal and real on some of these songs over some very upbeat instrumentation, like a sad song in a happy packaging, or a sad lyrics with happy packaging. But yeah, One of Me with Elton John, it's a cool song. The other two really strong highlights on this thing come back to back in the forms of Sun Goes Down, which was a single release for the album that I had not listened to before the album was released. I saw Fantano's reaction to the single without listening to it, and he was like, oh, it's not very good. And I was like, okay, I don't care enough about Lil Nas X to listen to this, so I didn't listen to it until the album came out. And then there's Void. Sun Goes Down is a fantastic song. Easily one of the best songs he's ever made. Possibly his second best song, right after Dead Right Now, because it is awesome. The music, the vocals are so good. The lyrics are good. Like, I'm blown away by how good this song sounds vocally and musically. And then Void is a really good song that, once again, it's the longest song on the album. It's one of the darker songs on the album, but it's got some really dynamic vocals. Like, Lil Nas X can really do a lot with his voice and doing different things with it. And musically, I think this one works really well, even though it's kind of slow. It's got a good cinematic buildup of cinematic quality that you can't really achieve with these 2-minute songs. But man, Sun Goes Down and Void are really good songs. And all the other tracks on the album, I think, are good or solid or fine, and they have their own strengths and weaknesses. But as a whole, the album does sound really good musically. Even some of the songs I like less, I think, have good music. I just don't like the direction they go in all of the time. The album has some good personal introspective lyrics, and the album is vocally pretty solid. I mean, Lil Nas X has proves on this album that he's not just a gimmick. He's not just a joke artist. Like, the 7 EP was an absolute joke. I mean, it was ridiculous. And it cemented even more so as a joke by the insane popularity of Old Town Road and the Grammy nomination. Like, it was nominated for Album of the Year, even though it's an EP. And, like, the other songs and the music videos for it, like, it all was just like, I'm a jokey person. Panini, like, come on. It's a really fun song. I like Panini, but, like, is that actually, like, is that a serious song? Is that a song that you can seriously like? But, man, Montero shows a lot of promise. I like this debut a good bit. I'm going to give it a 3.5 star rating out of 5. I didn't like this one as much as a lot of other people did. I'm aware that this is one of the... I mean, this album was, like, pretty much universally, like, praised by critics. Critics loved this album. But I'm a little bit more... I don't know. Not everything on it works for me. You know, out of these 15 tracks. And there's only a few songs which I think are really great, but I think most of the songs are pretty good. There's only a few songs that outright just don't really work very well for me. Looking at you, $ slime. Anyway, at all of these things, I do a thing where I talk about the chance it has of winning Album of the Year. This one definitely has a higher chance of the Jon Batiste album and the Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga album. I would say maybe like 10% chance, because once again, any other year, this one might have like a good solid chance of getting Album of the Year. But the nominees are pretty stacked this year in terms of, not in terms of like amazing albums, but in terms of albums and artists that the Grammys really like. Like, he's got some competition when it comes to the women nominated, and we'll talk about that soon. But, yeah, I'd give it like a 10% chance of winning. So I don't think this is going to win Album of the Year at the Grammys. Even though it's a solid album, I wouldn't mind if it won. It's definitely not my pick. But in terms of what I want to win, I want Donda to win. But I'll link my Donda review and the Tony Bennett, Lady Gaga, and the Jon Batiste. Link it all in the description. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.